SW with S is given by well group. And Xi is this delta I is delta Si, the simple reflection. And we mentioned that EF is the subalgebra generated by S and X star. So with basis X sub W. Okay, so and so that's it has a basis. Now we define QW star, which is the dual of QW. And similarly, you can define SW star and also DF star. DF star is the dual of DF. Okay, so we mentioned that this QW star actually has basis FW, and moreover, you have an easy product, that is this component-wise product. So now we have this action W X of QW star as follows. That is, if you take some C from QW, let's say you have G1, G2, two copies of C, two copies, the two elements from QW and the F from QW star. Now the action is super easy to describe actually. Say if you have G1, so I use this bullet action. G1 bullet F. Now that's a new function in QW star. If you evaluate it at G2, you can get F of G2, G1. Okay, so you have to put G1 on the right hand side because QW star is considered as the dual of this left Q module. So in other words, you shouldn't have something in the front, it should have something on the right. Okay. So that's the bullet action, and it's, we can say it's very easy to describe. For instance, if you have Q, delta W, bullet say FV, then you are going to get FVW inverse Q bullet this, and you are going to get VW inverse FVW inverse. Oh, sorry. VW inverse of Q, that's an element from Q, and then with FVW inverse. that's this action. Okay, so it's easy to describe this action. Now let me define some special elements. First one is this Yj. That is consider delta W, W from W sub J. So here J is a subset of simple roots. So now this gives you a work group, a subgroup of the work group W sub J, and here. You also have a loop system, sigma J, that is on the alpha from sigma such that S alpha belongs to W sub J. So basically, if you are given this subset of simple roots, you can get a subloop system consisting of roots with sigma sub J. And that's how you define this sigma sub J. Of course, you have several other definitions, equivalent definitions, and this one works as one of them. So now this denominator should be all the alpha positive and some alpha. Actually, it should be negative. All the negative roots of alpha from sigma J. Now, why this is interesting, I will mention this later. And by the definition, J belongs to Q. Okay? Oh, wait, belongs to QW. But actually, it's a theorem saying that yj actually belongs here. So it does not look like that, but actually that's the case. Even though you have a lot of things in the denominator, but actually you take this sum, you are going to get an element in here. For example, let me give a simple example. That is, J consists of just one element, say I. Then actually in this case, sigma J equals to minus alpha I. So alpha is one of the simple roots. And in that case, algebraic J consists of E and S alpha or Si. And then this Yj actually equals to, so delta E plus delta 1, delta I. Of course, delta E is just 1 times, now because you just have one negative root, x minus alpha. So now if you put the coefficient floating in front, we are going to get 1 over x minus alpha I. This commutes with that, of course, but this does not commute with that. We have this one group action. It's 1 over x alpha I. Yeah. So positive, negative alpha I becomes positive alpha I because Si applied on minus alpha I gives you alpha I. Okay. So you get that one, and actually this is what? This is alpha I. You still remember alpha I? That is 1 over x alpha I plus minus alpha I. So then this will be equal to kappa alpha I plus x alpha I. You see, x sub alpha I is this one. Now this, okay, let's go. Let me see, no, minus. You see, 1 over xi plus 1 over x minus I. Now minus this one, so this piece disappears, this piece becomes positive. It's precisely this piece. It's some simple calculation. So we know this belongs to TF, and this one, as we mentioned, this belongs to S. It's a Paul series instead of fractional Paul series. So that's why this Yj in that case belongs to TF. So that's the first element that we need. Second element is this one. So we define x point E to be this element, this product alpha negative. So you take all the negative roots. Fe is one of the elements in this basis, and you take all the negative roots, take the product of x alpha. That's the second element, and this one, as we mentioned. So all of the things here have geometric meanings. In fact, remember we have df star as morphic to ht of G mod B. And actually here you have this the class of the fundamental class G mod B. It corresponds to the unit 1. And if you consider the point of, this is the point, of course. You take the identity element of the Y group. This corresponds to E. That's the reason why I put a subscript E. So in other words, another way to see that is if you consider the T action on T mod T, then the T fixed points. That's you have the T fixed points is discrete and it's actually isomorphic or bijective to the Y group. If you have E here, it gives you this ET over T, the identity point. Okay, so that's why everything I've defined here have geometric meanings. And what about the Yj? What's the meaning of that? So because you have this action of QW on QW star, so you also have TF x on TF star. Totally the same definition. You take a function from EF star, you take an element from DF, its bullet action is performed like this. Okay, totally the same. then the following theorem. This theorem explains the meaning of yj. So we have TF star as morphic to ht of sigma b. Now, if you apply yj, now you see from the expression of this yj, you see that first you apply this, you apply the action of this piece, this fraction, and then you apply delta w, and then take the sum. So it will give you some w invariant element. So that's why, but because w comes from w sub j, so if you apply yj, you are not going to land in df star. It's still in df star, but moreover it will be in wj subset, because this summation makes give you an element that is wj invariant. Okay. Of course, you can embed it back to df star, and so that's morphic with ht. Now, we know each j defines your parabolic subgroup. Borel is containing parabolic. Okay, so you have a push forward. This is, you have a canonical projection, so this is status p, and you have p lowest now, because this is a proper map, so you have push forward. Now, you also have pull back. Now you have this commutative diagram. The action of yj actually makes this diagram, this square commutes, and this is just the pullback. So the pullback is embedding. So as you can see, this map actually is not a map of rings, because this map is not. Let's push forward. But this map is pullback, so it's a map of rings, and that's the embedding, of course, if respects the product. Okay. So that's the meaning of this yj. And as I mentioned, this one is this unit corresponds to the fundamental class, and this point E corresponds to the fixed point at identity. Moreover, because of this action, this bullet action, basically says that df star is df module, because df uses this bullet action, df acts on df star. That's a df module, and actually it's free df module of rank 1, which basis so df acts on df star, and we know df is a free S module, so df star is also a free S module. So in other words, df star is the same as df as a set. Just like if you have vector space, its dual is the same as the vector space itself, except you have some additional structures. That's the case here. df star is a free df module because df acts on df star, and the rank is 1 with basis point E. What does this mean? It means that everything df star can be written as z bullet fe point E for z from df. In particular, everything, so all the superclass can be written as z bullet fe point E. Okay? So from here, we can define this for the semester class. Some w to be x I some w. So here, things are a little tricky, and so I'm skipping some notations. I will mention that later. Bullet point B. So we take the operators on the Demozu and formal Demozu elements x of w, and then you reverse this sequence. That's a sequence, you reverse it, you get a new sequence. And that sequence, of course, will be a reduced sequence for W inverse. And you apply this element on point D with the Samuelson. Cross of W. So in other words, if you use this as multiple between the dual of the two algebra with cohomology of G mod B, and then this theta I sub W belongs here, and they correspond to the Samuelson class. And this theory is saying that actually all the Samuelson classes can be obtained by this way, that is, you use the pull detection. So that's the first result. Now, because we define y j is a subset of pi. Now, if you consider 1 pi, it also makes sense just let j equal pi. W from W, W, over product alpha negative and so on. So you take j equal to pi, you get this y pi. So you get y pi, bullet action of y pi on df star. This goes to df star. And now because you are taking this sum of all the y group elements, so it gives you something actually landed inside W invariant subgroup. And actually this is isomorphic with S. This is S times 1. So this W invariant subring actually is a free, so this is a free S module with a basis indexed by one group. But if you take W invariant subring or subset, it's actually a free S module with base with rank 1. And this group is precisely generated by this one. Okay? So this is the y pi. Now this y pi actually gives you the concrete duality. This map y pi from df star to df star. Very invariant. So this map is pairing sending f g. If you take two functions, you send it to f times g. That's the dot product. Oh, sorry, that's the product of two functions, and then you apply y pi. They landed here, and that's as multiple. Okay. This defines your pairing of S modules. This is the perfect pairing, and this theta IW. This basis, or the Samuelson basis, is dual to another basis. I didn't mention that. So remember that's a VQ. Because this is a basis for DF. Now that's the basis for DF. Now inside DF star you have the dual basis. Here you can put a star here. This dual basis is dual to that one. Okay. Of course, here I'm talking about two kinds of dual. This dual is dual via this pairing, and this star comes from the fact that if you define DF star. Now, if you have XIW basis, here you can define dual basis. When you are defining, like if you have vector space, if you have a basis of the vector space, then there's a basis for the dual space given by this dual basis. Okay. So that's why you define this Xi sub W star, and this is dual to that one. That's the concrete dual ring by duality.
So could you explain what is the meaning of the dual? What does it mean?
Okay. Yeah, the dual means that if you apply y pi on theta I sub w and x I sub v sub, you take the product of the two classes and then you apply y pi.
Yes.
You are going to get delta w v. Okay. So if w not equal to v is 0, if w equal to v, you just get this one.
Could you explain why you call the class Summerson?
Yeah, sure. For the Summerson, so the reason is that basically if you have G mod B
Yes.
and you have this super class, so you spar that contained here,
Okay.
then you can define a resolution. So basically if you fix W equal to SI1, SIK, then what you can do is you can look at the P sub IK, the minimum parabolic subgroups. And then you have a resolution here, that is you use
This you're right over the Schubert variety.
the first over here, and then you can see that the image actually goes to here.
Oh, I see.
I think it's P1 mod B. Okay, it's written as follows. The P1 cross B and P2 cross B.
Oh, I see.
Pi2 Pi1 mod B. And actually the last one is Pi K cross Pik minus 1 Pi1 over B. So over each piece, actually you get a P1 bundle because you get Pi1. This is a P1 bundle, and so you get
Each variety is P1 bundle.
yes, just a sequence of P1 bundles, and actually the image here lens factors through this XW bar, and so this is a smooth variety, and all at each step is birational, so that's why it's got a resolution of this super variety.
Okay.
That's the Poisson resolution. And now if you take, so because each map is proper, if you consider cohomology of this one, you have identity 1, you push forward to here. That class is called the Poisson class.
Is this exact in the classical theory?
Yes.
I see.
Yes, and if you consider Chow group or K theory, this because for Chow group and K theory, the push forward of 1 actually will give you this class of the superclass. Because in that case, superclass is defined, even though it's maybe singular, but you can still define the superclass. And this resolution will give you the superclass. So that's why you have an independence of reduced sequence. But in general form group plot case, this push forward may not give you this class. Actually, if the variety is not smooth, this class is not defined. But it's only for smooth class. So that's why in that case, the Poisson class may not be equal to the superclass. Okay. And this reflects the fact that you have this dependence on the reduced sequence.
So you mean that in your definition, that kind of definition is also
For Chow group and K theory.
Oh, I see.
Yes. For Chow group and K theory, of course, you don't have the reduced sequence. You can just choose one, and then it works. And the Poisson class equals to superclass.
I see.
Yeah, in that case, it's called superclass. Actually, yeah, that's if you want to learn superclass for supercalculus, you can take this definition because that's the one. Okay, so you actually mentioned that so far I've mentioned many theorems, but I didn't mention anything about the proof. The reason is that the proof is very natural in the sense that you just need to use this, as I mentioned, this product, this FWFB equal to delta WBFB. And another thing you need to have is this action that is equal to P delta W applied on FB. That's equal to VW inverse, VW inverse of P. So everything is explicit, okay? By using the formula, you can compute everything I was talking about. There are some difficulties here, but not serious. And there are some proofs that are not technical, but you just need to find the correct viewpoint. Okay, so next I want to mention this another property. That's called a characteristic map. So in geometry, you have this characteristic map, and actually in our case, we can also express it. Okay. So characteristic map is defined geometrically as follows. If you have ht of point into ht of c1b. So basically, if you have x lambda, you send it to c1 of L lambda. Lambda is the line bundle over c1b. That's the characteristic map geometrically. In this algebraic language, you can also define it and agrees with classical results. So that is, if you have S, because this is just S, and this is df star. So you need a map going from S to df star. To do that, you take x lambda, and you can say x lambda, put it unit. Or in other words, if you have a general Paul series, you send to P bullet 1. Of course, we know 1 is the sum of FW. So by this formula, this is equal to sum of W of P. W. So after applying P, then it's no longer W invariant because the coefficient depends on W. So this, then you have an asymptote of, you have a commutative diagram that is this, let's call it C, and this C, let's call it CG, means geometric. CA means C algebra. Then CG coincides with CA. Okay. This algebraic construction agrees with the geometric construction. Okay. Now you can define a map rho from S tensor S. So here, this tensor you can take it to be tensor over R. That's a commutative ring, so we're okay. This is a ring with product df star. If you take P1, P2, you map it to P1, CA of P2. So in other words, if you have two copies, the second copy you apply the characteristic map, and the first copy you just take the scalar product. Because we know df star is a S module, so you have scalars, P1. This gives you a map. Then the theorem says that rho factors map from S tensor S. So this tensor can be over SW invariant. Why is that? Because you see, in the definition of this characteristic map, if P is W invariant, W of P will be still equal to P. Then you can take it out, and then you can combine it with this scalar. Okay? That's why these factors to this tensor, you can quotient out whatever W invariant elements. And that's still quite a rule. Rho is asymptotic. If, first of all, if R contains Q. Secondly, if H equal to K theory. And thirdly, if last one is that Gaussian index of G is 1. So in all three cases, this actually gives you an isomorphism. Actually, in other words, in the three cases, you can replace cohomology of G mod B by S tensor S. Okay. Now, why that's interesting? Because actually,
what type of groups have good index?
Type A and C. For type B and D, you have 2. For types G2, F4, and then type E, I think we have 2, 3, 5. Sometimes, but 2 always appears. Sometimes we have 3, sometimes you have to consider 5. So, another way to put it is that you can erase this case and you say the Cauchy index of G is invertible in R, the coefficient ring R. Cauchy index is invertible in R. That's enough. You don't need to really use rational numbers. You can just assume that the Cauchy index is invertible. And of course, this includes both case 1 and case 3. And also you have case 2, that is, if you are considering K-theory, then you also have isomorphism. Now, the reason that is interesting is that actually it's called the Breuer model. Because I think you can replace cohomology by this double tensor. For instance, if actually equal to K, you have this group ring, tensor group ring, over this group ring, W invariant. And I think you have done a lot of work about W invariance in this polynomial, Laurent polynomial ring. So, for instance, if you look at Q coefficients, then you have a set of generators for this W invariant subring. So, then, basically, then you can replace superclass by this tensor of 2 Laurent polynomials. And if you consider ordinary cohomology, now, if you consider ordinary cohomology, that means you consider this S going to Z, this augmentation map, and now you can consider Z tensor OS, Z tensor OS. Then this gives you Z tensor SWS, and this gives you cohomology. Instead of equivariant cohomology, you have this. Okay, let's consider K-theory in this case. So in other words, if you consider K-theory, then this ordinary K-theory of flag variety is isomorphic to this one. Now this is Laurent polynomial, and you kill the invariant. So this is called the co-invariant algebra. Co-invariant algebra, which is the same as just S quotient dot SW plus. Okay, and here you have superclass, of course, ordinary superclass. So you can represent ordinary superclass by Laurent polynomial quotient of invariant part. Actually, if I'm right, you have, of course, this isomorphism is given here, but you can always switch it by some other isomorphism. So you can represent superclass by a Laurent polynomial, and I think that's the so-called glotony polynomial from supercalculus. And if you consider cohomology, and let's say you assume the coefficient ring is Q, then you also have isomorphism. You can replace K-theory by cohomology, and here you replace the Laurent polynomial ring. Replace the Laurent polynomial ring by polynomial ring, the symmetric algebra. Then this again you have the same result, and this is the polynomial ring, and again you can represent superclass by polynomials. That's the thing called super polynomial. So you see everything from supercalculus are already seen in this picture. So that's the components of this Breuer model. And we generalize it to more general cases. Now, why this is interesting? There's another reason actually. So let's look at this S tensor S going to here, so sending cos over SW, sending P1, P2, P1 CS of P2. So, for instance, if you have like one group element, so one tensor delta U, so it's tensor S, so this element is mapped to what? Mapped to P1 tensor W of P2, no, U of P2. Now if you apply this map again, then this element is mapped to, now if you apply, no, let's first consider this one. This is P1, U of P2. Okay? And of course, here. That's CA of U of P2. Of course, I haven't checked this map yet. What I checked is that if you apply one tensor delta U, so in other words, you apply U on the second component, you get this element. Now you apply CA again. CA. You apply CA again, that is P1 CA of U of that. Now let's compute the right hand side. So P1 CA of U of P2. That's equal to, now what is CA? CA is U of P2 bullet 1. And then you take the scalar product with P1. P1 is the scalar part. So U of P2, I have calculated, is bullet with 1 is equal to sum of W U of P2 FW. And then you take P1 outside. Okay. Now you can simplify it because that's the sum over W. Now if you replace WU by V, then the sum over V, and you have that one. So I claim this is equal to P1 delta U bullet W. That's W of P2 FW. Okay, let me put V here. V is easy. That's P1. P1 again is just the scalar. It doesn't change anything. So it's equal to this one, and that's equal to P1 delta U applied on CS of P2. Or in other words, CA of P2. Because the one inside the bracket is P2 bullet 1, so that's CA of P2. That's delta U bullet row of P1 tensor P2. Sorry, I thought I made a mistake. That's not CA, that's the row. CA is the characteristic map. That's row. So in other words, if you apply delta U on the second component, you get this one, and that's the UP2 bullet 1. That's equal to this sum, and you can change the index into V. And then that's the same as you take out one copy of delta U. And so that's delta U applied on CA of P2. In other words, that's equal to delta U bullet this one. So in other words, this map is a U bullet. As a summary, you have this commutative diagram. Rho. Here you have delta U bullet. And here you have one tensor delta U. So this bullet action actually comes from the, if you identify DF star with S tensor S, then this bullet action actually comes from the Y group action on the second component. Okay? Now you may wonder, what if you replace this by delta U tensor 1? The same diagram, except on the left hand side, the left vertical map is replaced by delta U tensor 1. Now, of course, in this case, delta U applies on the first component, and the first component by this rho is, can be raised. So rho applied, we recall, rho maps P1 tensor P1, P2 to P1 CA of P2. So P1 actually is the scalar part. Now if you apply delta U on P1, you are going to change the scalar. So it's not going to be linear. So in other words, delta U tensor 1 is not linear, not S linear. Now what's the meaning of that? Just like here, you have S tensor S over SW. So you can read it as an S module, and S is commutative. You can let S act on the first component or the second component. But when you are identifying this with DF star, that's also a free S module. So the S module, if you want to identify the two sides, actually you should fix the action of S. You view this as an S module. Now if to identify the two sides, we are really talking about S acts on the first copy, because the first copy is the scalar copy. The second copy is applied by this characteristic map, which is not linear, because in CA you see you have to apply Y group on this element, so it's not as linear. So that's why if you apply delta U on the first component, it's not going to be so. It's not as linear in the sense that this map does not preserve the linear structure on the first component, okay? Because that's where the linear part comes from, and you're applying a Y group. So this induced map, let's call it delta U O dot on this function, on this module. So this delta U O dot is not a S linear automorphism. It's still an automorphism, of course, because everything comes from Y group is invertible. So not a S linear automorphism of DF star. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but the bullet action is S linear. Okay. So this defines your new action, O dot. But of course, we know that in general this is not an isomorphism. So a map here does not really give you a map here. So that's why you need a new definition of this O dot. And that's the next part. So how to define this O dot in the proper sense? Because this one works if you have an isomorphism. We don't have this isomorphism always. So there's the second definition. But of course, this one comes first in our project. This one appears later because we realize that you can have a second description. So we call that DF star is a free DF module of rank 1. Now what does this mean? It means that DF star is the same as DF bullet, the basis. Remember the basis was this. They're the same, and this is a bijection between the two sides. That is, I give you any f, you can write it as C bullet point E or some C or here. Okay, you always have this case. So I give you any function, you can any cohomology class have a bullet action. So now with this, df acts on itself by left multiplication, also acts on itself by right multiplication. Of course, the two actions, this is a left action, it's a right action, and they commute. Just like if you have z, you can take z1 on z1z, or you can take z2, and of course it doesn't matter which one you multiply first, because z1z, z2 is the same as z1, z2. So in other words, this left multiplication and right multiplication commute with each other. Okay. So now you can realize these two actions, that's a left action, that's a right action, on df star level, in the sense that if I give you f from df star with f equal to z bullet by b, what you can do is you take z1 from df, you can define, say, f bullet prime. Okay, let me put it bullet r, because the original bullet is this left action, left multiplication, and right now we have this right action. If you let z1 act on f, what you do is you let z1 bullet on f on. You can write f as z bullet point e. You just write f as z bullet point e. So you represent f by this element. Now you take the right action of z1. Now the meaning of that is you take z times z1, and then you put it with point e. In other words, because you can write f as z bullet point e, you can put z1 in between of the two. Z times z1. So that's like z1 right multiplication with z. So that's why I will explain this part. z1 times z, and then you let it act on point e. Okay? So that's how you define this new action. But of course, that's a left action. And actually, that's a right action, but this is a left action. So you have to switch between right and left. So defines a right action of df on df star. So this is the right action of df on df star. Moreover, this action commutes with the left action, because say you have another copy z bullet on this f. So okay, let's say you have z prime bullet f. That means you have z prime bullet this one. Now you have z prime bullet with z, or z prime times z. And so you have z prime times z times z1. Now of course it commutes with this action because you can apply it first or apply the other one first. Okay? That's the same reason I'm saying here, that is left multiplication and right multiplication commute with each other. So this defines your right action. So as a summary, right now you have left action, that's the bullet action. You also have a right action, that's the bullet arm action. But we want to have left actions because that's easier to deal with. So you can define an anti-involution. In other words, a map that switches the product and has all the two. Send in, say, you have p x I, send it to xi inverse p. So in other words, if you have p xi xj, here that's the capital xi xj. You send it to xj, xi, and p. Just switch the product. Okay. That's an anti-involution because you switch it, if you apply it again, you switch it back. So that's why the order is 2. And because it's it's anti-commutative because it's anti-inversion because it switched the product. If you have xi, xj, it's into xj, xi. And you define the action of df, x on df star, sending z o dot f to be f bullet r by this u dot z. So then it becomes a left action. Let me check it for you. Well, this is a left action. The reason is that if you have z1, z2, o dot f, that's f bullet r by this u dot z1, z2, and that's f bullet u dot z2, bullet r u dot z1, and that's equal to z2 o dot f u dot z1, and that's equal to z1 o dot z2 o dot f. So after this checking, you see that this actually is a left action. And now what I said is totally correct. That is, you have this commutative diagram with the bullet action. Actually, you can make it more general. Let's say you have C O dot. So you take C from here, and without you have df x on S. That is, if, for instance, if you have the module element x on any p is just C dot p. So you have two commutative diagrams. The first one is for this bullet action. The second one is for this O dot action. And from the definition that I have just erased, you see that bullet. So in this case, bullet, the two actions are both on the left commute. The reason is because one of them is action of df on the left and the other one on the right. Okay, let me explain the geometrical meaning of the two actions. The reason is that if you consider ht of T1p, that's the same as ht of T1p because b over t is a vibration of a bundle, and that's the same as hg of T1p plus T1p. Okay, so in other words, the df star actually can be realized as this one, the product of two copies of the flag variety. Now, if you have two copies, you can define a correspondence product or convolution product. In geometric representation theory, they call it, let's say, in geometric representation theory, they call it convolution. And in people in algebraic groups, they call it correspondence. So you have hg of x plus x, hg of x plus x, hg of x plus x plus x, three copies. So what you can do is the following. So you can take the projection of the three copies of x over two copies of x. Let's say that's P1, 2, projecting onto the first two copies, projection onto the last two copies, and the projection on the first and the third one. Now, if you take the class alpha, you take class beta, you can consider P1, 2 alpha star of alpha, P2, 3 alpha star of beta. You take one. So of course I write this arrow, but actually what I should put, maybe I should not put cohomology here, just the motion of varieties. So you have 2 copies of x, 3 copies of x, and 2 copies of x here, copies of x here. If you take a class here, you can pull them back. You have pullbacks. And then you take the intersection product on the cohomology of here. And then you consider P13, lower star of this class. That's called the correspondence product. I don't know, usually people use a circle. I think you can find this in the book of Mokiev, or from geometric representation theory, you also have this definition. So that's the convolution product. And because you choose alpha and pull back via this map, projection for the first 2 copies and projection of the last 2 copies, so actually the rule of alpha and beta do not compute. That's why this convolution product is not commutative. The cup product is always commutative, but this convolution product is usually not commutative. And this not commutative convolution product reflects the fact that TF star so we know we have such a nice morphism, and this is not commutative. Actually, this non-commutative product comes from the non-commutative convolution product here. So that's why, if you want to realize this as using convolution, it's using cup product. We are talking about this DF star. If you are really in this set and you want to talk about convolution product on this cohomology, you are really talking about here. That's the hash or the Dengzi. And now this is a non-commutative product, non-commutative algebra, or this is a non-commutative algebra. You can let it x on itself by multiplication on the left or multiplication on the right. And then you can translate onto the other side, you will get the 2 actions, bullet and O dot. Okay, so that's precisely why you have 2 actions. And and they commute because, again, the reason is that convolution from the left and convolution from the right, they commute with each other. Okay, let's take a short break.